Welcome to Garden Delights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia. Today we're going to be talking about potatoes, and we're going to make slim down potato salad. Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, he will talk more about how to plant those potatoes. So we'll see you back in just a little bit. Welcome back to Garden Delights. We're going to be talking about potatoes today, and I hope that if you haven't had a potato in your diet, you'll want to after I talk about how wonderful these potatoes are. Potatoes are very high in vitamin C, so if you're looking for something else to put that vitamin C into your body, think about those potatoes. They're also a very, very good source of potassium. We think about bananas, but we also need to think about our potatoes because they are also a very good source of potassium. They also give us a little bit of iron and a little bit of niacin in our diet also. The good thing about a potato, it is saturated, fat-free, and it is also sodium and cholesterol-free. So think about this potato. So about a medium potato, and I consider these about a medium potato, maybe just a little bit larger. These are good sizes, but a medium potato, if you're going to eat one, either broiled or baked, you're going to get about 100 calories out of one medium potato. And so as you can see, a potato is very low in calories. It's what you put on the potato that makes it high in calories. So keep that in mind. It also, if you leave the skin on that potato, you're going to get more fiber in your diet. So if you can, even like the potato salad we're going to be making today, I took the skin off, but if I really wanted to bring up that fiber in the diet, then I would leave that skin on that potato because it's going to bring the fiber up. And if you're looking for fiber in your diet, then leave the skin on just like anything else that you're eating. Let's talk about selection when you're selecting those potatoes. Now, most people, when they go to the grocery store, they're going to buy a bag of potatoes, and that's what I do also. I buy a bag. You can buy them individual. They're going to cost you a little bit more. So if you can buy them in bulk, which is like a bag, a 5-pound bag or whatever it is in pounds, that's going to be your best bet. When you're looking for those potatoes, you want to make sure that you flip the other side of that bag because you want to make sure you're looking at all those potatoes you're getting ready to purchase. You want to make sure that potatoes look really firm. You want to make sure they're smooth. You want to make sure also you don't see a lot of eyes on that potato. And then you want to make sure they're uniform in shape. And when you're looking at all that, that's your good selection as far as your potatoes go. Now, you want to make sure they're free of bruises, any kind of cuts or any kind of dents in that potato. When you're looking at that bag, make sure you don't see any of that or cracks. Those are all things that are important. But not only that, make sure those potatoes are not sprouting because if they are, that tells me those potatoes have gotten too warm in the area they've stored them. And we're going to talk now more about that storage of those potatoes. Potatoes need to be stored in a cool, dark, well-ventilated area. And that doesn't mean your refrigerator. If you put your potatoes in the refrigerator, it causes that starch in those potatoes to turn more into that sugar. And you don't want that because then that potato becomes even sweeter. So keep that in mind. When I say cool, dark, ventilated area, I mean a place in your home, not in your refrigerator. And you don't want to wash them once you bring them home because that can cause them to sprout, also decay before you even get to use them. So we don't want to wash them until we get ready to prepare them. So let's talk about preparing those potatoes. Now, people can cook potatoes in so many different ways. I know we all think the first thing we think is either fried or baked. And which of those are the top probably choices that we see around that we eat. But we also want to think about the other ways is boiled, mashed, and steamed. And so those are other ways that we can cook those potatoes. We also want to make sure that when we're buying those potatoes and we've done all the selection, the storage, and now we're going to prepare them, we want to make sure that we wash them really well because potatoes, they grow in the ground. And so it's very important. And I know Frank has talked about this, where they grow and how to start growing a potato, but we got to make sure that we wash them. So I have my potato scrubber, and I use it to scrub and make sure that I'm washing my potatoes really well under running water because I want it to be free of any soil on that potato. Now you could use a sponge, but you do want to make sure you're washing your potatoes before you eat them. Other potatoes out there too that I really like are like new potatoes, and those are going to be the ones that have the red skin to them. And those are the potatoes that, when you see those are immature, and they're marketed right out of the field, so they're fresh. And you can also make potato salad out of those red potatoes or those new potatoes also, and they make very good potato salad. So don't just think that there's this one way to make a potato salad. There's other choices of potatoes out there. And as you can see, when you buy them, like I talked about the bags, you got the baking and you got the all-purpose. And that's what you're going to see mostly in your bags, is the baking and the all-purpose potatoes. And they'll tell you a lot of times what they can be used for and what they're best for as far as baking. So check that out when you're at the grocery store. I hope from this you've learned now all that good nutrition about that potato and how to keep it for a while. And it will keep about a month before you have to worry about what you're going to do with it. So just remember that. And potatoes also freeze well. So if you get too many and you don't know what to do, you can always freeze them. Call us and we'll tell you how to freeze them. So we'll see you back in just a little bit.
Today we're going to talk about Irish potatoes. Irish potatoes are not grown from seed. Irish potatoes are grown from cuttings off of the potato that has the buds on it here. And so you would cut them in pieces so that you have at least one good bud on each piece. You would like for each piece to be about the size of an egg because that's what the plant's going to live off of once you plant it until it gets established. So if you try to cut these eyes off of the potatoes and you try to cut these little pieces out of it, then it's not going to make a strong plant. It's going to be a really weak plant. So you can't always just cut it and get every eye like you want it. The potatoes just don't come that way. I'm going to cut this one right here, and you just sort of have to look at them and pick. I need to have at least one good eye on each piece that I cut here. And so there's an eye right there. That's another eye over on this side, another one right there. So I'm just going to cut this piece in half right here. So I've got an eye here. I've got a good one right there. Then on this piece up here where I've got so many that are together, I'm going to try to come across here and maybe get another piece off right there, so I've got a good eye. And then I'll come across this way. There's no magic to it. Every potato is different, so you have to do it. I'm just going to plant that piece like it is. I got a good eye there, good eye there. So these will be planted in the ground with the eyes up. We're going to plant them about 3 inches deep, about 12 inches apart. And this will make a potato plant everywhere we plant one of these. And like I say, they're all different. You just have to look at them to see. You can get about 9 pieces off of a pound of potatoes if you're trying to figure out how many you want to grow. And so we can just sort of look at it that way. This one I got a good eye over here, and I got a good eye right there. This one I may just plant it just like it is because it's, now what we're going to do now that we've cut them, we're going to let them age at least a day, maybe 2 or 3. And what's going to happen is, if you see how this is juicy right here where I've cut it, if I plant this too soon, there's a potential for it to rot. But if I let it sit for a day or 2 or even 3 maybe, this will crust over. And so then when I plant it, the moisture from the soil and all is not going to cause it to rot. So it makes a better piece if you let it age. So you need to plan what you're doing in regard to that. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces, and that's probably pretty close to a pound of potatoes. Now, if you get a small potato, which I don't have one here, you can just plant the whole potato. You don't really have to cut it if you just got something that's small. These are are red Pontiac that I've cut up right here. This is a Kennebec right here. Would not be one I would like to choose. It's got some seedlings coming up here in this little crevice. You know, we cut it up and plant it and see what we get out of it. But it's so as you select your seed potatoes, every seed potato is a little bit different. So you don't want to just go to the store and just grab up a bunch of potatoes and weigh them and buy them. You want to look at them and make sure that you see how you can get some seed pieces out of them. So now we take these potatoes. Potatoes like to grow in a pH about maybe 5.5, a little bit on the acid side. They are a cool season plant, but we don't want to plant them too early. We can plant them sometimes in February, but you need to check the soil temperature. You want it to be in the 50 range. If you plant it when it's too cold, then they will just sit there in the ground and rot. So you can plant them. Potatoes need a good bit of water. They need to be watered regularly. You don't want to overwater them. If you overwater them as they start to mature, sometimes they'll put up little sprouts off of the potato that you're trying to grow, and you don't want that to happen. So you got to monitor your water pretty closely to put down just the right amount. The University of Georgia has got a pretty good brochure that talks about how to select the ones you like, and I'm not recommending one or the others. It's whatever kind of potato you like is what you would select for yourself to grow. If we take these pieces that we just cut here, I'm just going to get about 3 of them here, and we'll take them over here to the container. And so what I've got here in this container, if you recall, about a couple of months ago, whenever it was, we talked about our compost pile. Well, what I have here is some of that soil out of that compost pile, because potatoes, and excuse me if I call them tomatoes, I've been talking about tomatoes too much, but potatoes like good soil, good organic matter that lets them spread out their roots and grow and put down their tubers. Potatoes, Irish potatoes are tubers. You know, when we talked about sweet potatoes are actually roots, but these are actually tubers. When the plant grows, everything above the seed piece is where the potatoes are going to be formed. So they're not like a sweet potato where the roots are going to make potatoes. It's above the seed piece. So once it starts growing, gets 6-8 inches tall, we need to come back and hill some dirt up around it so that those potatoes can grow up in that dirt. And then in this container, when it gets a little taller than that, I'm going to hill a little bit more dirt up around it, and I'm going to try to see if I can fill this container up with potatoes before the summer's over. Now, potatoes will bloom, and when they bloom, a week or so after they bloom, you can go out and dig some new potatoes, just right off of the top. The top potatoes, they'll be those small potatoes. You don't want to dig down deep because you'll get to your main crop, but you can actually go out and harvest a few new potatoes just right after they bloom, maybe a week or so after they bloom. So that's a good thing that you can harvest those. And you'll just keep building them up until they produce. And then when the plant wilts up on top, you know, later on in the season, then we'll, in this case, I'll just kick this barrel over and we'll get the potatoes out of it. But in the case of having them in the garden, you need you a good fork and go dig them, similar to what we did to the sweet potatoes when we talked about those. So I'm gonna get down here now and I'm gonna plant these. I'm gonna go down here in this soil about 3 inches deep. I'm gonna put my potato piece down in here, and I'm gonna pack the dirt around it after I plant it. And I'm gonna do that to each of them, and then we'll monitor them as they come up. And I'm gonna put one down in here. Now, in this particular barrel right here, I planted a potato piece a week ago, and I'm just going to dig it up and show you how it starts to grow. So you can see from the bud that was on this piece, we start to grow our root system, and then not too long, this plant's going to come up from here, and you'll start to see leaves coming up above the soil. So that may be 10 days since I put that in, so it's starting to grow. Then the weather's been a little cool, so it's not really blasted off yet, but it will get there. So there's my potatoes in my barrel, and now I'm going to wait till they come up. You always want to get your potato stock from certified seed potatoes. So don't use the ones at the grocery store. Get the certified seed potatoes and get them planted. Monitor the soil temperature. Most any time in March, towards the end of March is a good time to get them out. This kind of depends on the season. This year it's been a little bit cold, and so maybe put them in just a little bit later than we would have last year. All right, now let's go back and for my favorite part of the show, and let's see what Susan's making out of potatoes.
We're talking about potatoes today, and we're going to be making the slim down potato salad, and I hope you're going to like it. I'm going to kind of start off and tell you some things I've already pre-done to speed up the recipe a little bit. This is potatoes that we have here. This is about, I'd say, 7 medium potatoes is what you're going to need for the recipe, and it equals, once you peel them and dice them and cook them, it comes out to about 6 cups of potatoes, and this is going to serve around 8 people. Once you have your potatoes cooked and they're still warm, you want to take 1/3 of a cup of light Italian dressing, and you're going to drizzle it on these potatoes. And then you want to put this in the refrigerator for about 2 hours, because you want it to soak up all that wonderful taste out of those the Italian dressing. So I've already done that. So the potatoes are cooked, they've been soaking in the little Italian dressing, and they've been in the refrigerator for a couple of hours. Now the next step we're going to do for the recipe is our onions. Now the onions, it's going to tell you in the recipe to take about 1/3 of a cup of onion chopped up, and it also will tell you to cook the onions in the microwave for about 30 seconds. That just kind of takes off the strong taste. It makes the onion a little bit sweeter, but it really adds to the taste of the potato salad. So I'm going to go ahead and put the onions into the potato salad. And we're going to add some other good ingredients to this. So we have the onions, and now we need to put some celery in here, and the celery is 3/4 cups of celery. So I've already taken some celery stalks and cut them down to smaller sizes, and I am going to cut the celery into small little chunks, and I am going to cut it pretty fine, because I do want it to be fine as far as when you're eating it and getting that crunchy taste out of the celery. I don't want big chunks when you're eating it, so I'm going to cut it pretty fine, and it's going to probably take all my celery that I have to get that 3/4 cup. Now, if you don't want to cut your celery as small as mine, you don't have to, but I take about 3 of these and cut it into small chunks. And if you could smell this celery right now, it smells so good. This smells so fresh. I enjoy just eating celery all by itself. So while you're cooking this, you can always nibble on a piece of celery too. So we're going to keep chopping this, and hopefully I'm going to have my 3/4 of a cup of celery. So I'm just going to keep chopping, and if you want to, you can even make it finer than this. But it adds wonderful color to this potato salad. Now I know a lot of people, they don't like celery in their potato salad, so you don't have to put that. You can make your potato salad however you want to, but I hope you'll take some of this and use it, because it's going to be a little bit slimmer down than the regular potato salad. So I'm going to keep cutting on this celery. This is a pretty big piece here. And you can tell the different parts of the stalk of that celery. You can see where it's a lot greener in different areas as it moves up toward where the leaves are. And I'm going to chop up another one. I'm going to make 4 out of this one. It's a pretty big size. And I think we're getting close to that 3/4 cup. So we're getting really close. So that's about, I'm going to save my other piece, and I may eat it later. So that's about 3/4 cups of our celery. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to scoop it up, and we're going to add the celery to the potato salad. And look how well it's looking already. Now we got to chop up one more thing to get all the chopping part done, because I've already done the onions, so now I did the celery. And the other part we're going to do now is we're going to chop up 2 boiled eggs. So, and I'm thinking potato salad, you can't have potato salad to me without your boiled eggs. So we're going to take those and we're going to chop them up. I'm going to stack this real quick. And I'm looking at the celery thinking how much I'm going to enjoy that. So we're going to chop our eggs up, and so you do want to boil your eggs early in the morning or sometime before you chop it up, because eggs when they're warm, they don't chop as good as when they're cold. So just chop them up into size that you think will be good. The chunks can be different sizes, but eggs are also wonderful to potato salad. So I'm just going to chop another one up to get what we need. And we're going to be almost ready to put this potato salad together. And I think about all the springtime different events that's coming up that we'll want to celebrate, and somebody's going to end up making something good, and so maybe you'll make this potato salad for your next big event that's coming up. So I'm going to scoop up the eggs and put those in the potato salad. And this is already looking good and smelling good too. So we have our eggs, and we have our onions and our celery, and we have all that's incorporated. I'm going to move this so I don't stick this on top out just a little bit. And so what you want to do now is just kind of stir this around and make sure that you have it all incorporated in the potatoes before you add the wet part of those potato salads. So that's probably what you want to do. And look how wonderful and how colorful this is already looking. And in the Italian dressing, you have a little bit of the orange and so it kind of gives a little bit different color also to your potatoes. And it also gives a really good flavor to them too. All right, so we have 3 more ingredients to this potato salad. This is a 1/2 cup of light mayonnaise. This is a 1/2 cup of fat-free yogurt. And this is 1½ teaspoons of Dijon mustard. So we're going to add all these together. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to use the one that has the mayonnaise in it, and I'm going to incorporate the yogurt into the mayonnaise. So when I'm going to mix all this around, because I want the wet part all mixed up before I add it to the potatoes. So we're going to mix it up in a bowl. And now I'm going to add, let's see if I can use this one because it's a little bit smaller to make sure I get all that mustard. Now some people don't like mustard in their potato salad. Now we do. So if I was making this at home, I'd probably have to add more mustard, but we do like mustard. So if you don't like mustard, don't put it in there. But if you do, it's really good. It does add a lot of good flavor to it. Okay, and I'm going to just set this over here, and I'm going to mix this up. And you can see it's already looking good on the color. And when you buy store-bought potato salad, it's sometimes you can get the kind that has the mustard, and sometimes you don't have to. And you can see this doesn't give it a really dark mustard color, but it does give it a little bit of flavor. So I've got that mixed up really good. So we're going to add the mayonnaise and the yogurt to the potato salad. And this is going to make it even better. So once I get all this in here, and it smells really good, and I hope Frank will like it once he comes to taste it. So we're just going to kind of mix this around. And when you cook the potatoes ahead of time also, and then you cool them, they stay together. They don't become into mush. Unless you like potato salad, it's a little bit into the mush stage, but we like it more to where you can see the cube part of the potatoes, and you can even slice them. You don't have to cube them, but I chose to cube them for this recipe. So I'm just kind of mixing in the wet part, and you can see just that little bit of mayonnaise, a little bit of yogurt, a little bit of the mustard, how well it's coating the potato salad to where it's wet now, but not over wet. Now at home, a lot of times, you know, you can add things to your potato salad to dress it up. At home, a lot of times, I'll even sprinkle a little paprika on top to give it a little bit of color. But this is what we call the slim down potato salad. Doesn't that look good? I hope that you're going to like the recipe. It's really easy, but also it's not as high in calories as other potato salads. So put this on your recipe box and hope you'll try it when you have a next kind of event at your house or family's coming over and you need something really quick. It's a great quick little recipe to do. We'll see you back in just a little bit, and we'll have Frank come in and taste our potato salad. Welcome back to Garden Delights. We have Frank with us, and we're going to taste a little bit of that slim down potato salad. Now, Frank, you talked about how to plant the potatoes, and now I'm going to tell you how to eat those potatoes.
All right, you just start dipping them and I'll eat them.
All right. So hopefully you'll like it. And like I said, it's slimmed down, so let me know what you think about it. And to me, potato salad tastes even better the next day. So the recipe will tell you to let it stay in your refrigerator for a couple of hours before you serve it.
I'll come back tomorrow.
All right, that sounds good. I think I will with you.
I still think they're the neatest thing. It's this little brush.
It is.
Little small potato, you know what they call small potatoes?
What do they call them?
Small fries.
That's a good one.
But I would have planted that if I'd had it when I was planting.
And then I'd have to look for it to wash the potatoes up so we could eat them too. So
This is good.
I hope you'll like this. It's slim down potato salad. Check out the website and you'll have the recipe. And we'll see you next time on Garden Delights.
I think this also be good between two pieces of bread. Make a sandwich out of it.